식사 맛있게 하셨나요? 네, 저도 맛있게 했습니다. 이번 세션은 스타트업이 세계 시장을 꿰뚫는 5가지에 대한 얘기입니다. 이스라엘에서 오신 분인데요. 2년 전부터는 한국에서 이제 사업을 하고 계시는 분이랍니다. 비욘드 시큐리티의 대표님 아이브리암 제닉이 그 이야기를 이어갑니다. 비욘드 시큐리티는 보안 솔루션 개발 업체로 99년 설립되어 현재 컴퓨터와 네트워크 보안 분야의 그 입지를 확보하고 있습니다. 비욘드 시큐리티의 아비람 제닉의 스타트업의 세계 시장을 꿰뚫는 5가지 방법을 이어갑니다. 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
I'm going to talk about the top 5 mistakes Korean startups make when going global. Actually, they gave it a little bit nicer title. They're talking about tips for Korean startups to go global. I'm actually going to tell the truth or call it by this, the mistakes. Korean startups make a lot of mistakes when trying to go global, and I'm going to point out a few of them and how you can avoid them. So, what is, I'm going to focus on what I call the 5 daily sins, the really top 5 huge mistakes that I've seen Korean startups make. But first, I'll tell you a little bit about me. Just for convenience, I put all the information on one page. You can see the URL there, so you can find all the information about me there. I see someone writing the URL. I was kidding, it's Google. If you Google my name, put my name in Google, you'll find all the information you need. I'm an entrepreneur, that's my background. I sold my first company before I was 30 and sold another company after that. Started a security company, which I'm taking towards an IPO. And although I was born in Israel, I spent about 5 years in Silicon Valley and moved here to Korea about 2 years ago. So I had the exposure, I learned and I was sort of educated on the startup craft in Israel. I've been living in Silicon Valley for a few years, so I know that angle. And I lived here enough to see the Korean startup culture and general atmosphere, which, by the way, I like a lot. I'm a managing partner in a seed fund called KOISRA. So KOISRA is an accelerator, a seed fund accelerator. We provide very early stage. It's actually pre-seed. So the first money you're going to raise will be from us. And then our focus is on mentoring. We bring Israeli mentors to help with matching with the Korean startups, help them create companies, and our startups are global companies. We're only looking for Korean startups that can go global. We're not interested in Korean companies that want to make it big in Korea. If you want to do that, that's great. Our focus is on going global. You can check out our website for a little more information, or just contact us. Now, why am I here, basically? And I don't think it's a trivial answer. I mean, yes, I do live in Korea, but I can do a lot of business in Silicon Valley or in Israel. So it's a question I'm asked often. Can Korea become a startup? I know Korea is starting hard. I know a lot of you here are startup founders. I saw 60 booths outside. So a lot of people are trying to make Korea a startup hub. Can it be? I think yes. I think it's a loud yes. Korea has all the ingredients that a startup hub needs to have. Very well-educated population, risk-taking people, and a lot of small business mentality. If you look at how many small shops are in Seoul, those are all small businesses. Those are startups. A convenience store is often a startup. They took a little bit of money from the bank, put it in their shop, or they're a startup. They're trying to make it big. Now, with the risk-taking, I need to explain that one. There's a misconception, mostly outside of Korea, I think, about how, whether Koreans take risks. Are they risk-taking people, or do they want to play it safe? So let me show you how risk-taking Korean people are, in my opinion. See this shop? This shop is a real coffee place in Seoul, selling coffee, beer, and wine. How much risk in that, right? That's a crazy. If this takes off, this could be the next Facebook. I wouldn't invest in it, though. I don't think so. But it just shows there are crazy ideas out there, and people are willing to take the risk and try it out. So there's one more point here regarding whether Korea can be a startup hub, and this is kind of text from Paul Graham. Paul Graham is a very famous figure in Silicon Valley. He did a lot of things, and you can look him up. But if you're not getting spam in your inbox, then you should probably call Paul and say thanks, because he invented something called Bayesian filtering, which is the way that spam is being filtered today. He's a very smart guy. His business partner, by the way, brought down the internet, crashed the internet in 1988. He was responsible for the very first virus on the internet. So you can see that they've got some history. Paul Graham runs an accelerator program called Y Combinator, which is very famous. And he writes a lot of essays. And he has an essay called How to Be Silicon Valley. And you can look it up on that link. And the ingredients, he says, are excellent university. I'm going to say that in plural. Great place for people to live. Nerds and youth, a lot of young people. And Seoul has all that. If you're not sure about nerds, look around here and see them. So I think there's no doubt that Seoul has all the ingredients to be a place for startups to thrive. And I think so. Paul Graham thinks so. Must be true. So let's talk about the 5 deadly sins. The top 5 mistakes that I see Korean startups make that are, I think, fatal. Number 1, and if I could have it my way, I would make it number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Language. I don't know how to stress this, so I'll try to do it the Korean way, okay? If you speak Korean to your customers, and when I'm talking about customers, that's global, anybody in the world, imagine that you're speaking Hanja, because that's what we're doing. Because the people you're presenting to, their language is English. Okay, even if you're speaking to a Korean DC, his language is English. So if you want to speak, now you won't speak Hanja to your customer, right? So if you want to talk Junema, you'll have to speak in English. You have to have your website in English. You have to have your brochure in English. I'll say it again because it's really important. The startup battles that I've seen were about 20% in English. So there was 1 out of 5 that were presented in English. The other 4 wouldn't. Imagine the other 4 speaking Hanja, because that's what happened. See, the VCs, they did have translations, but what they really saw, they saw a person that wouldn't bother to speak not just their language, the business language, and then doesn't understand how important English is. English is crucial. How can you go global without English? Okay, on this side. And then number 3 is that means you're not prepared. So it's disrespect. You don't understand your business, and then you're not prepared. That's what they heard. And the final thing is they got the translation, but how good is the translator? Well, now she's gonna scrub the translation from now on. No offense, company. But the translator is taking her interpretation of what I'm saying instead of them hearing what I'm going to say. Okay, so if the startup founder is really passionate about what they're doing and they want to convey that, they can't do it to a translator. It just does not work. So language is absolutely crucial. I went around the booths. There's 60 booths, and one of them had the English website. So 1 out of 60. That's pretty much the ratio that I see. That's fatal to the business. Just start in English. Do it just in English. To give you an idea, Israel is a small country. We make a lot of noise, but we're a really small country, 6 million people. And then everything we do, every startup that starts in English. Not only that, we get to Hebrew. Hebrew is about 20 on the list. So we'll translate to all the other languages. We'll probably translate to Korean before we translate to Hebrew. And that's just how we are. This is how the global world is. Number 2, I don't think I need to explain this a lot because I think Korean startups usually get it. You gotta be social. Bilanch is an amazing show. It's definitely the biggest in Korea. It's one of the best that I've seen in Asia and probably in the world. And one of the things they do really well is they leverage the social platform. If you get James, the Bilanch Sajanim, to talk to you and explain to you how he started on Facebook. So he started on Facebook and created this 1,000 people conference, okay? And that's how you do it. You go social. So as I said, Korean startups, they get it. There's just one thing they miss. And then there's these guys. See, if you're like me, and you walk around on the platform, actually, if you have a pulse and you walk around the platform, you're going to end up with 50, 100 business cards at the end of each day. Okay, I've got this many in my pocket. So all these guys, what are you going to do with them now? How are you going to connect with them? LinkedIn. You got to be on LinkedIn. This is how business people. This is how business people do connect nowadays, and this is how they're going to remember you, and this is how you'll contact them later, and this is how everything is done. So you have to be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not popular in Korea for whatever reason. All the people you talk to, they're on LinkedIn. So everybody you met who's not Korean is not only on LinkedIn, they expect you to connect to them. Take the business cards, look them up on LinkedIn, send them a message, spend time on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the Facebook of business platforms. So I know you guys all get Facebook and Twitter, that's great. Get into LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the way to do business. Now, let's talk about shortcuts. Because what we do with startups is we take shortcuts. Okay, if you want to take on Facebook or Twitter or Amazon or Microsoft, they took them 20 years, 30 years, or 10 years to be where they are. You want to do it in one, right? You have to have a shortcut. So here's a few tips to help you achieve that shortcut. And you need to find more on your own. Find as many shortcuts as you can. This is how startups succeed. The first startup to get to the success, to get to the global success, is the one that will find a shortcut to do it. So culture, and I'm giving you a few examples and you can have more. So you need to know the culture in Silicon Valley, because Silicon Valley is going to determine if you succeed or not. Twitter is successful because the first 5 users, or the first group of users, were Silicon Valley veterans who wrote on very popular magazines. And then everybody followed them. That's what you need. So Jigalom is a really popular website for news. They'll tell you the culture. They'll tell you what Americans, people in California think about without you having to fly there. And then language. So you remember my point number 1, everything has to be in English. How do you do that? You go to Elance. Elance does the people who do job rent their time by the hour, and it's very cheap. You'll find someone who speaks Korean and English, and they'll translate it for you, and they'll do it cheap, and they'll do it as a one-time project. It's very easy, it's very simple. And then you're on LinkedIn, and what this thing skipped here is for LinkedIn and for social, size matters. And I know, the men of us, we don't like to hear that, but it's true. And someone will agree with me. So if size matters, how do you create such a large presence on LinkedIn? How do you reach many people? LILN, L-I-L-N, is a group that if you join, then people will connect to you on LinkedIn. And suddenly you have thousands of connections, thousands of people connected to you. It's cheap. Of course it's cheap, but it's a shortcut. It's the way to get things done. Now, let's talk about address. If you have an honest talk with any of the VCs that are here, they'll all tell you they're not going to invest in your startup. And that's if they're honest. And the reason is you're in Korea. VCs invest in startups in their area. You want the Silicon Valley VCs because they're the best, they'll invest in Silicon Valley companies. In fact, why would they invest in you when there's so many there? You need to be a Silicon Valley company. That's the bad news. The good news is it's not that hard. Why do you need it for a Silicon Valley base? You need a website, right? You can do that from here. You need an address. PMB, post mailbox. Find a service that will give you an address, hopefully in Palo Alto, or could be anywhere else, and you've got an address there. You put that address on the bottom of your pages, and next time you talk to the VC, you do it on the phone or a webinar. They don't really care where you are. You just happen to be in Korea at the time. So that's PMD is a way for you to be an American company. And with that, there's other shortcuts. You can start an American company which is what I would do if I were you. I would start it as an American company. It costs about $100 and one fax to Delaware. And you can do it from where you're sitting now. So you can have an American company in 24 hours for about $100. And then you pay about $10 a month for PMB in Palo Alto, so you've got an address. And then you buy a phone, a Skype number, whatever virtual toll-free forwarding, whatever it is you want to use for a number with an area code in Silicon Valley, and you've got a phone number in Silicon Valley, you're pretty much done. By the way, there's it's not really a funny story, it's kind of a true story. Investors, or generally in Silicon Valley, they will look at your business card and they will look at your area code. What area code are you from? Are you from here? Are you one of us? Are you local? Do you get Silicon Valley? Or are you far away? And if you just moved from New York and you've got a 646 area code, they'll ask you, hey, did you just move in? Are you new? If you've got a 650 area code, which is Palo Alto, and you live here, which is where I live, by the way, I have a forward in here. It's natural. I just happen to be in Korea today, and tomorrow, and the next day, for the next year. But it makes sense. And you will hold the elevator pitches, right? You have 30 seconds to explain what you do, and it has to make sense. So within those 30 seconds, if you spend 15 seconds explaining where you live, you lost half of the time. Okay? So make it simple. And then there's a really nice book called 4-Hour Workweek with a lot of other shortcuts. It's basically how to look like a big company when you're really small and don't have a lot of money. So there's a lot of tricks. Find them yourself, okay? See what your goal is. Your goal is to be a Silicon Valley startup, that looks like Twitter or Facebook, and do it quickly, and do it cheap, and do it at the price of a ramen. Now, I'm telling you all these things, and you're writing it down, you remember, you're going to download the presentation, but there's a lot more. Now, there is sort of this unwritten rule in Silicon Valley. People help each other. And it's very hard to explain, because people often ask me why. Why would they help? I can't explain it really. I can explain it a little bit. Most of these people got help. I got a lot of help when I started. So they kind of paid it forward. The truth is, anybody who came here to this show, pretty much from abroad, definitely from Silicon Valley, but I think just about anywhere, they will all help you if you ask them politely. I will definitely help you. If you send me a polite email and ask for help, and I can help you, I will. Why wouldn't I? Some people call it karma, there's other names for it, but it does work. And if it doesn't work, then again, in Silicon Valley we say no means next opportunity. So if I ask for help and somebody said no or didn't respond, I'll just ask someone else. There's a lot of people I can ask. So ask for help a lot. We always ask for help. We do that a lot. You're not expected to give something for that help. Okay? They will help you because they know you're going to help someone else along the line, and maybe you will help them later on. So ask for help. Now, this is a rule that I need to explain. Steve said a lot of interesting things. One of them is history will teach us nothing. And I like this phrase. I like this song, but I like this phrase too. We often, I'll try to explain what I mean here. We often try to explain what we do in very simple terms. So we will say, we're the Twitter of TV sets. We're the Facebook of pets. We're the TripAdvisor of car garages. I saw that here on the show. So actually, that's a good thing. Saying it something like that, people get it. We're the Twitter of pets. Okay, so pets will tweet. I got it. See, just one sentence, and I know what you're doing. So when we say that, it's sometimes easy to get caught in our description. So we want to be Twitter now. So we're going to build these huge offices and have people dress in t-shirts, and we'll check what the founders eat for breakfast, and we'll try to eat that, and we'll try to replicate. Don't do that. The fact that Twitter did what they did, by the way, is completely incidental. That was pure luck, the way they got to where they got. What Facebook did will probably happen, I don't know, in 100 years again, because it wasn't lucky. It was very well done, but it was really, really, really hard to do. What Google did, by the way, is try to sell the company for very little money. I don't know if you all know the story. So it's not that Google can woke up and said we're going to build a $40 billion company. They said, well, if you can get $1 million from Yahoo, that'll be great. Yahoo said no. So don't imitate. Don't try to see what the other people that you like and want to be like are doing. Learn from them, but adapt it to you. It has to be something you're comfortable with. It also doesn't look good, and it's just not going to work. Okay, it's not what they eat for breakfast. It's not even what they did, what the steps that they did. It's the whole thing. Okay, it's when they did it and what they did and where they were and a lot of things. So don't be like that. Now, rule number 6 in my 5 rules for a startup is not to follow the rules. Now, the good thing for me here in Korea is I don't need to teach Koreans not to follow rules. I mean, I drive in Korea. I know I need to tell you to follow rules. You do that all the time. But what I mean by that is if you start a startup, and you need to know this, if you start a startup, you have more than 90% chance to fail. You should know that. Now, once I finish this point, just forget it, because you can't wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to fail. You have to fill with the 10% that succeeds. But let's look at it logically for a second. You have 90% of failure, because this is the statistics. 90% of startups fail. We know that. That's just a measurement. So if we're going to follow the rules, if we're going to do like everybody else, we're going to be in the 90%. Right? It's pretty obvious. So following the rules will lead you to failure, because you're in that 90% group for sure. That's the mainstream. The mainstream is going to fail. You have to break out of the mainstream. By definition, you want to be a different 10%. You want to do something else. What is that something else? I don't know. You need to find out. But it just means that breaking the rules is not only a good thing, it's crucial. Okay, you have to break some rule. Now, hopefully not any of the rules I just gave you. Those are good rules. But I'm sure there's going to be exceptions. I'm sure some people will prove me wrong. Almost every one of the big startups that you know and want to imitate and want to be like broke one of the rules. And the example that I like is an example from 1920. There was a guy selling some kind of old calculation machines. If you're 30 years old and under, I'm not even going to explain what that is. So he was selling machines in his city. And that was 1920. Okay? He wasn't selling on the internet. There wasn't an app for that. He was actually sitting there in a store. People would come to him and buy it. It was, that old. And the guy had to choose a name for the company. And he called the company International Business Machines. Now, that doesn't make sense on so many levels. In 1920, you couldn't even go international. You had to go on a ship. And if you're in the US, you had to go on a ship and sail for about a month before you saw land. Okay? What is the sales cycle of a sail like that, right? So it didn't make sense on any level. And yet he said, yes, I'm going to be an international, and not just these calculation machines. I'm going to do international business, selling business machines. Nobody really knew what business machines meant at that time. That's breaking the rules. That is doing something that doesn't necessarily make sense, and then become an IBM. Okay, and we all know the guy's name, John Watson, and what he did. And this is what you need to do. So I don't know what your knowledge is. I know that everything I said about Facebook and Google and Twitter hopefully shows you that they did things that don't really make sense. But again, it has to be done. That's how things work. If you do things that make sense, you're the 90% that fails. To go to that 10%, you have to do something different, something a little bit unusual. So, thank you very much. Hopefully, you got a little bit of some tips about the mistakes that a lot of Korean startup makes. Try to look at it logically, see what you do wrong, and mark the mistakes that you do. Feel free to contact me. Like I said, I will help you. I'm not the only one. Everybody and just about everybody that I've met here is very open and nice, and people I know will help you as well. So feel free to reach out, and if I can help any of you guys, I would. And just as a final note, I'd like to say thanks for the B-Lounge organizers for having me here and for arranging this really wonderful conference. Thank you, everybody, and see you walking around the booths.